One of the things about being a rabbi is there's no typical day. A lot of my job is teaching. That's the majority of it, is teaching people about Judaism, teaching people the Torah and its laws, and working with people who are at transitional stages in their life. There are definitely unique challenges to being a synagogue in Washington, D.C. It's actually, it tends to be better to be a synagogue in a big city because there are more people, a bigger pool from which to choose from. You can find your sort of niche, your spiritual niche, and that's sustainable. If you're in smaller places, you have to be much more of a sort of everything to everybody player. And so working in a large city in one of the country's great metropolises allows us to find a unique role, which is what we have here. We're not a normal synagogue. So it's definitely a unique challenge being in Washington. It got a lot more unique after the election, let's put it that way. What I can tell you is that the majority of Jews voted, for Hillary. And so I think that a lot of the people I know and a lot of the people that I serve are having a very difficult reckoning about what it would mean. We're worried. I lived to see something I never thought I would, and not in a good way. This week there was a convention of actual Nazis, making Sig Heil signs at the Ronald Reagan building. I have married people in that building many times. I never thought to see Nazis having a sort of a victory convention in the city in which I live. I thought those people were a fringe to me. They were never a voice, and now they're a voice.
I am still numb this Shabbat. Numb. A friend of mine sent me a note from a rabbi who compared this election feeling to the feeling of Tisha B'Av, our day of mourning for the temple's destruction. In a sense, many of us are mourning, and this week is Shiva.
Tisha B'Av is the 9th of the Hebrew month of Av, was the time that about 2,000 years ago, the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem about 3 weeks before, and on the 9th of the month of Av, the temple, the center of Judaism, both spiritually, nationally, politically, psychologically, was razed to the ground. And the country was destroyed, and our people were taken out in exile. So when people say that, what they're talking about is sort of utter destruction, the worst kind of destruction that's imaginable, maybe only topped by the Holocaust. But it's the hard part, I think, is that it's not Tisha B'Av yet. The human mind searches for certainty. We want things to be all good or all bad, and living in limbo is the hardest thing possible. My mom is a cancer survivor, and I remember after you get the diagnosis and you don't know how bad it's going to be because they've got to do surgery and blah, 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 which seems to me like this moment, at least for a lot of people. Right? That was the hardest part of it all, was not knowing what to expect. And the thing that I would say to the person who says, this is Tisha B'Av, I said, no, it's just that Tisha B'Av came an inch closer. And we need to figure out who we are, what we're going to do, what we can stand for, and how we can prevent it from happening. And I worry about people because I worry that they're waiting for a messianic leader to come, someone who will right all the wrongs, who will sweep all the difficulties away casually and easily. And that's not leadership. I think what the Torah says is that leadership is being prepared to sacrifice, being prepared to lose as well as to win. And mostly it's just trying to serve the interests of your people for as long as you can. Sometimes serving their interests against their own wants, if you know what I mean. But just trying to be there for them. And it's very hard. This is one of the few moments in which so many of us share this common fate it's a horrible common fate, right? But, I woke up the morning after the election feeling like, one, I was a lot less white than I used to be, if that makes sense. And two, realizing that some of the walls between the various vulnerable populations in this country have been eroded because people were being treated exactly the same. It's not a Jewish question anymore. And the thing that I want to say is that the hard part of what's going to happen spiritually is that voices from the outside are going to be telling large swaths of this country that they're shit, that they don't matter, that they're not people. And that changes you. And the thing that has to happen right now, more than anything else, first of all, we have to do everything we can to stop these people. But right now it does feel like they have the upper hand. And so the question becomes, how do you find inner nobility and strength when ideas are attacking you from the outside? That's going to be the rub. It's going to be the hard part. Is that people aren't going to know. It is so hard to hear another person call you a non-person. Right? And all those women walking in the street with the hijabs and your Hispanic friends, that's what's happening to them. It's happening to us too. So the question, the spiritual challenge at the moment is, how do you find a place that will restore your inner dignity? Right? That gives you back enough strength to stand in the opposition of those comments, right? I mean, it's almost like dropping, dropping a box into the water. The pressure from the outside has to be met from pressure from the inside, from resilience and strength. That's a hard thing to find. It can be done. Unfortunately, my ancestors were experts in finding dignity when other people told them that they deserved none. And that's the kind of thing that the Jewish community is going to have to do, is to spread a message of, here's how you stand up when other people are trying to push you down. And unless we're able to do that in a real way, what's amazing about it is that, like, on Facebook, there are going to be so many people saying, we got to fight, we got to fight. But those are just Facebook messages. You can't fake nobility. You either have found it inside yourself or you haven't. It can be given from one person to another. Sometimes you can be in the presence of a person who can touch you and reminds you of how strong you really are, but it can't be faked. And so this is a real challenge of authenticity. Can you look inside yourself as a person who's being targeted, right, and stand up? And there's some spiritual tools that come from the prayers that we use, come from the texts that we teach, that help us along the way. We're going to have to dust them off and use them.